Hi, I'm Stephanie Rozzo. Welcome to Major Sketch Create's Strawberry Clover step-by-step painting instructional video. In this video, I'll be showing you how to paint the Strawberry Clover by using Major Sketch Create's step-by-step painting instructions. First, collect all the materials you need and make sure they're ready to go. Help out this tiny business by clicking the like button, subscribe to his YouTube channel, and checking out NatureSketchCreate.com to shop for future creates. Remember, this is just a sketch. Take your time, relax, have fun, and don't worry too much if you think you may have made a mistake. Let's get started. Step 1, transfer the image to the watercolor paper. So you want to tape the transfer image to the back of the watercolor paper, and you want to make sure you don't cover up any lines that you plan on transferring. Take your graphite transfer paper, dark side down, light side up, and place it on top of your watercolor paper underneath your transfer image. And then gently press that down, and then you can go ahead and get started. So pick any spot and just trace over one of those lines and check it before you keep going to make sure it actually transferred and then it's transferring dark enough. You want to be able to see these lines at the end so that you can redraw them. And so just go throughout and trace over all the lines to transfer them. You can put on a podcast, an audiobook, some music, meant to be a relaxing exercise. Just take your time. And if you don't get the lines exact, don't worry. This is just a sketch. It's going to be imperfectly perfect, no matter how you do it. So just go throughout and trace over all those lines to transfer the image. When you think you have all the lines transferred, just go ahead and flip your image up and down like a flip book and start on one side and move to the other. Each time you lift it up, you look at a different part so that you can see if you missed any lines that you need to add in. I always end up missing something. And if you don't catch it in this step, that's okay. You can always add it in later as well. Yep, there's a pretty obvious line right there. And right here. If you want, you can go ahead and transfer the common name and the scientific name. The common name is a little bit bigger than my pencil tip, so I'm just going to outline the inside of each of the letters. And when you're done, go ahead and remove the graphite transfer paper. As you see, I've used many times, and it can continue to be used many more times. So I will save that for future use. And then remove the tape from the back of the watercolor paper. And then I also remove the tape from the transfer image. There's a lot of paper left on that tape, so I won't reuse it. Instead, I'll compost it. And this paper can be used to protect your image. You can take your kneaded eraser and knead it to a light gray spot. If you have a dark gray spot, it might leave some smudges you don't want on your image. Go ahead and either dab it over areas to lighten them or rub it to erase a little bit. And it just does a nice light erasing. If you need to really get some more erasing done, go ahead and use your eraser. It does change the texture of the paper a little bit, so try not to use it too much. And now I can move on to step 2. Step 2, paint in the clover yellow-green. So first mix the clover yellow-green by taking 2 drops of the 34H turquoise blue. Make sure you shake up the paints. Sometimes the pigment does settle at the bottom. 1, 2. 3 drops of the 2H gamboge. And 11 drops of the 12H titanium white. Six, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's a little goopy, but it should be fine. And mix that up. You can add a little bit of water from your cup if you're using a regular brush or whatever vessel you're using for water. Or you can press down on the barrel just gently to release a little bit of water. It does release a little bit from gravity, but if you press on the barrel, it'll release some more. You don't want to release too much, you just want to add a little bit just to help it flow a little. And then go ahead and test it on your paper. Looks like the right color to me. I'm gonna dab it off on my towel, take it to the side and add some more water to it. So we're gonna wanna use the wetter, lighter, least concentrated color so it has less paint pigment in it. Dab it off onto your towel and then check it on your paper. It looks a little light, so I'm gonna pick up a little bit more paint from here and add it in. That looks a little bit better. Maybe just a tiny bit more water. Dab it on my towel and check it one more time. Oh, I like that. Go ahead and add it to outline the sections of the seed head here. And between the flowers on the bottom half of this flower head, and you don't need to be really exact. This is just a sketch, just a quick representation, so don't worry too much about that. Just kind of quickly add it in. Whenever you need more paint, just pick it up and dab it off on your towel. And I'm also going to add this to the calyx here. And then also the stems and leaves and the taproot. And when you're adding this, you can just kind of add it like you do with a crayon or a marker, filling in a space, or you can outline the outside and then fill it in. Oh, and if you got some outside the lines, that's totally fine. I could either redefine this and have it a little bit bigger, so when I draw it, those final lines, I'll make that a bigger line, or I could just leave it and it's just a stylistic choice. Whenever your paint runs low, just go ahead and pick a little bit more up and add it in. Again, this is a sketch, so any mistakes, just make this perfectly imperfect. And sometimes mistakes happen. I also like to start from left to right, usually, and then top to bottom. I did use my finger to dab up some of the paint. You can do that too, or with a clean, dry part of your towel or a Q-tip. also works well if you really don't want the paint to be there, just to lighten that spot a little bit. When you're done, let this dry, clean off your brush, and move on to step 3. Step 3, paint in Clover pink and yellow. So first, mix the Clover pink. So you want 29 drops of the 12H titanium white. Two, 3, 6, 27, 28, 29. And 1 drop of the 31H red oxide. And with a clean brush, mine still has a little bit of green in it, so I'm going to clean it out. Go ahead and mix the paint, adding a little bit of water like we did before. Dab it off on your towel and check it on your test paper. Looks like the right color to me. I'm going to use a lighter, wetter color of this, so I'm going to dab it off on my towel and then put a little bit to the side. It might be a little too light and add a little bit more water, and then check it out. Yeah, I think I want a little bit more. Dab it off my towel and check it again. That looks good. And I'm just going to add it to the top half of the flowers on the flower head, like you see in step 2's image. And I'm not being super exact, I'm just kind of adding it in there, filling in that space. And clean off my brush. And now I'm going to mix the Clover yellow. So again, I'll need 29 drops of the 12H titanium white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. And 1 drop of the 2H gamboge. Mix that up with a little bit of water added to it. Dab it off on your towel and test it out on your test paper. Looks like the right color. I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of water to the side, and maybe a little bit more color. Test it out on my paper. And that looks a little light. I'm going to add a little bit more. And check it out on my paper again. Maybe just a little tiny bit more. And test it out one more time. I think that looks good. Pick up some more, dab it off on my towel, and then add it to the bottom half of the flowers on the flower head. And I just paint over that whole space. And every time I paint, ends up looking just a little bit different based on my mood, and got a little heavy-handed with the green, and that's totally fine. This is just a sketch, just a practice painting. Clean off your brush and let this dry and move on to step 4. Step 4, paint in Clover white and red. So first mix the Clover white. Want 2 drops of the 12H titanium white. And you could do just 1 drop, but 2 drops gives you a little bit more to work with. Add just a little bit of water to that by pressing on your barrel of your brush or adding some from your vessel of water. And then add it to all the green areas and the seed head like you see in step 4's image. And again, I'm going to start from left to right, and everything is dry. You can kind of dab it to see. And again, like with a marker, you just cover the space. The only difference is you just pick up a little bit of paint whenever you need it. And dab it off on your towel. When you've added all of the white, go ahead and clean off your brush. And then mix the clover red. So you want 8 drops of the 12H titanium white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 2 drops of the 31H red oxide. Mix that up, adding a little bit of water from your brush. And you just want it to have enough water that it kind of moves easily, it doesn't give you a lot of resistance. It's still kind of thick, and you can check that color out on your test strip, make sure it's right. Just kind of roll the tip of your brush on your towel to create a fine tip, and then just outline parts of the top half of the flowers on the flower head here. Make sure to preserve some of that other color underneath, so kind of just going over the lines. Clean off your brush and move on to step 5. Step 5, paint in clover rust. So mix the clover rust. You'll want 1 drop of the 24H burnt umber, and 1 drop of 31H red oxide. Mix it up, adding just a little bit of water. Test it out on your paper, looks like the right color, and then take a little bit with some water to the side. Dab it off on your towel and test it out. You need just a little bit more color, so pick up a little bit and add it in there. Just a little bit too much water. That needs a little bit more water. Sometimes getting the right amount of water can take a few tries. And a little bit more water. Much too dark, actually. That looks better. I'm gonna go ahead and take that and add it to the roots and to the bottom half of the flowers on the flower head. I'm going to start with the bottom half flowers. Just going to try to preserve some of that other colors underneath. It's a little wet, so I'll dab it off on my towel again and add some more. It might take a little while to dry. Pick up a little bit more of that color, dab it off on my towel, and then add it to these little roots. And you don't need to be exact or stay in the line. You can even extend them a little bit if that's what you like. And then clean off your brush. Let this dry and move on to step 6. Step 6, paint in the clover deep green and rust. So we'll want to mix the clover deep green with 11 drops of the 12H titanium white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1 drop of the 34H turquoise blue. And 3 drops of the 2H Camboge. 1, 2, 3. And mix that up using a little bit of pressure to release some water. Dab it off on your towel and test it out on your test paper. Looks pretty good. And then use that to add to your painting. So we're going to use this driest, darkest color, and I'm going to add it just all over like you see in step 6's image. And don't worry about being exact, just get the same general spaces. Use the driest, darkest Clover Rust, and you can roll your tip of your brush to get a nice fine tip to add color to the dark spots on the seed head. And don't worry too much about being exact. Just kind of add them in. And if you get a little bit too much water coming from your brush, just dab it off on the towel and pick up a little bit more paint. And dab that on the towel before applying it. Every time I paint, things turn out just a little bit different. And I think you'll find that will happen with you too. And pick up a little more paint, dab it off on my towel, and roll tip a little bit. And add just a little bit more in here. Pick up a little more paint, dab it off, and then I'm going to add it to the taproot like you see in your final reference image and step 6's image. And again, don't worry about being exact. This is just a sketch. Let's get in the same general spaces. Pick up paint whenever you need it. Dab it off on your towel. Clean off your brush. Let this dry and move on to step 7. Step 7, add ink lines. Now I'm going to use the black 005 micron to start adding some lines to this image. I'm going to just redraw all the lines that I transferred in step 1, and you can use your transfer image, or you'll find a reference image to help you figure out where to put those lines if you can't see the lines you transferred. And I'm also going to go ahead and redraw the common name and the scientific name. And so go ahead and go throughout and redraw those lines. Next, use the 01 black micron to write the scientific name, to thicken some of the lines on the taproot roots, thicken the leaf mid-veins, the stems, and some lines on the calyx, as you see in 7A's image and the final reference image here. use the black 08 micron to fill in the common name and thicken some of the lines throughout, as you see in 7B and the final reference image. Do be careful because this pen does tend to smudge before it dries. Again, don't worry about exact placement, just make sure that you don't outline everything in deep black using just one line thickness. You want your lines to vary a bit. And now that I've added all these lines, I can be done, but I want to go ahead and add a little bit more white. Like I said before, every time I paint, things can turn out just a little bit different. And on the seed head especially, it's very green, which is fine because sometimes these can be on the green side, but I want to lighten that up and show you how. So I'm going to take a little bit more, of this white, the 12H titanium white, and just get a couple drops here. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that paint, adding a little bit of water so that it moves smoothly. You can paint right over the ink and everything, but I want to paint just the inside because I've already added these ink lines. And it's fine to paint on top of them, but I want them to pop out more. So I'm just painting over the green a little bit and in between the seeds and in between those spots as well. And it did go over some of them, which is fine. I just lightened it up a little bit. So you can always add more paint or more ink whenever you want. And we're done. Great job. Thank you for joining me. I hope you had fun, had a chance to relax a little. And if you like this video, make sure to click the like button and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Next, you have some options on what to do with this painting. You can punch holes in it and add it to your sketchbook, frame it, gift it, send it in the mail to a friend. Also, please share it on the Facebook fan art page. We'd love to see it. And use the hashtag #NatureCrateArt to have it featured on our social media. Make sure to check out naturesketchcrate.com for future lesson crates and sign up for our newsletter for regular updates, and keep practicing.